After breaking up with Yan's group heir, he quickly found a new love. He took away my resources, stole the role I'd prepared for half a year, all to pave the way for his new girlfriend. On the day I won the Best Actress award, the host asked, "The theme song of your debut, Prayer, is said to be named after someone special." Yan Qi, sitting in the audience, suddenly looked up, shock written across his face. Few knew his full name was Yan Qi. Only now did he realize that I had once loved him so deeply that I'd hidden his name in that song. But now, I just shook my head, smiling as I denied it. It's all in the past. On the way to the film festival, my manager, Sister Sean, looked tense as she told me, "Our endorsement deal with that luxury brand's Asian division is over. They've given it to Jiang Miao again." I lowered my eyes, calm. "Just get used to it." She lit a cigarette, unable to hide her frustration. "How many times has she hijacked our deals this year? From the lead in Director Li's new movie, top advertising, variety show contracts, to your biggest luxury endorsement, Jiang Miao's taken it all. You prepared for that movie role for 6 months, even set aside a whole year for it, gained and lost weight. They even started filming, and then they just replaced you. Losing endorsement deals was one thing, but that movie role, I couldn't let that go." I took the cigarette from her fingers, feeling a sting in my eyes as I gently reminded her, "Sister Sean, there's nothing we can do. Nothing we can do." Because behind Jiang Miao stood Yan Qi, the heir of Yan's group, which held stakes in most of the entertainment industry in the country, even in our own company. Jiang Miao was the only girlfriend Yan Qi had ever publicly acknowledged. In just a year, she had scored a role in a renowned director's film, and, like me, was nominated for Best Actress at this festival. Yan Qi would give her only the best, placing it all at her feet. I was simply in her way. Sister Sean glanced at me. "If you're just a runner-up to Jiang Miao again this time, they'll roast you on social media, and all the good scripts will go elsewhere." Jiang Miao's first year in the industry had landed her an award nomination, thanks to Director Li's movie. I'd started with minor roles, gradually becoming known for my acting. I'd been nominated several times, but every time, I was a runner-up. The haters mocked me, calling me halfway to Best Actress. I watched the stream of cars outside the window. Another loss would only make things harder. Still frustrated about the lost endorsement, Sister Sean muttered, "Chan, you dated Yan Qi, too. How come he didn't clear a path for you?" I pulled my gaze back from the window and looked at her for a moment. I spoke softly, "Sister Sean, I was actually in love with him. I was in love with him, not seeking a benefactor, not living off him, just in love. That was it. But no one saw it that way. Because he and I were from two different worlds. We were never equals from the start. Actually, Yan Qi had done something like that for me before, but only once. For months, Sister Sean had struggled to get the attention of a top-tier fashion brand for me. But Yan Qi took me on his private jet to Europe, where we attended an intimate, exclusive event. When we returned, I received an endorsement offer for the brand's Asia-Pacific division. On the flight back, I sat quietly, feeling unsettled. We were cruising at tens of thousands of feet, and Yan Qi knelt before me, holding my face, half laughing in exasperation. "Why the long face?" I wasn't angry, just unsure of what to say. "Yan Qi, the things you give me, they're too much. Don't do this again." He smiled, leaning in until our noses touched, his warm breath brushing my face. "Compared to my heart, what's this? We're in love. What's wrong with treating you well? I only worry I haven't done enough." I held back my question, stifling the urge to ask while feeling a tickle at my lips. "If one day you no longer love me, what happens to all of this? If your heart belongs to someone else, what then?" Now, I have the answer. Whether he gave it or not, he'll always take it back. The red carpet before the film festival is always a highlight. My time wasn't up yet, but noise erupted behind me as the cameras and photographers turned away. I glanced back, of course, it was Jiang Miao. But she wasn't alone. Yan Qi walked beside her. Yan Qi usually avoided the public eye, yet here he was, strolling the red carpet with her. He looked my way, but in an instant, his gaze shifted as he bent down to adjust Jiang Miao's dress. "What's wrong?" she asked. He chuckled lightly. "Nothing, just some nobody." When they announced Best Actress, I didn't respond until my name was called twice. Only then did I stand, dazed. The big screen showed scenes from my movie, cheers erupted around me, and as I took the trophy, it hit me I had won. Yan Qi and Jiang Miao were in the front row. She had just lost, and looked pale with frustration. Yan Qi, however, had his gaze down, seemingly listening closely to my acceptance speech. I gave thanks to a long list of names. But when I finished, Yan Qi's name hadn't been mentioned. Once, his name had been first on that list. Now, I'd removed it myself. Only a coldness remained in his eyes, as hard as steel. The host, a famous comedian known for lightening the mood, joked, "Ni-chan, Duban s dug up your whole story. They say back in the day, you named the theme song Prayer after your true love, is that right?" Back then, I not only sang the theme song but wrote its lyrics, hiding his name, my most cherished love, within the title. In the audience, Yen Chi's head snapped up, shock plain on his face. Few knew the heir of Yen's group had the single name Chi. Only now did he realize how deeply I had once loved him. I looked at Jiang Miao beside him, visibly panicked, then shook my head and laughed as I denied it. It's all in the past. After the ceremony, I returned to my seat, my hands and heart burning, struggling to hold back tears. Before the festival, no one had expected me to win. The frontrunner was Jiang Miao, lead actress in director Li's film. No one imagined I'd pull off an upset. Suddenly, someone handed me a tissue. A quiet voice said, "The camera's off, you now wipe your tears." Next to me sat Lu Jia, a Triple Crown actor and a true genius in the industry. He was the male lead in the film that won me this award, acting opposite me. If it weren't for Lu Jia's recommendation, the director wouldn't have thought of casting me, and if it weren't for his skill, I wouldn't have performed at such an unprecedented level. Looking at the tissue, my fingers hesitated before I took it and whispered, "Thank you." Lu Jia didn't say anything more, only grunted, his gaze fixed on the stage, as distant and aloof as his reputation. Just like how, on the last day of filming, he had seen me off by the shore under the moonlit sky, as if that moment his confession by the sea had never even happened. The mood in our team had entirely shifted from when we arrived. Sister Sean, my manager, was practically glowing, her earlier gloom gone. But as I was about to get into the car, a few fans suddenly appeared and stopped me. The security guard wanted to push them back, but I gestured for him to stop. I signed for each of them. They were young girls who'd likely come from far away. Letting them leave empty-handed would been harsh. As I finished signing the last autograph, I heard someone call my name from behind. The final stroke of Chan faltered a little. Not far behind me was Yen Chi, calling, "Ni-chan." I kept my gaze lowered, pretending not to hear him, and smiled as I gave a few last words to the fans. My assistant helped lift my dress as I got into the car. As the car started and the window rolled halfway down, I saw my fans' smiling faces outside, and then Yen Chi, standing alone. The usual arrogance in his face was completely gone. His charming eyes held no trace of a smile, just a blank, silent stare in my direction. The last time he called my name was the day we broke up. Back then, he looked heartbroken, furious, and said, "Ni-chan, you say you love me, but why have I never felt it?" Through the window, I waved to the fans and Yen Chi, smiling peacefully as if it were a final farewell. The car pulled away. "Yen Chi, go ahead, look. If you want, maybe the answers you seek are hidden in those faded memories. But it's all in the past now." Back at home, I was removing my makeup when my assistant, ever the social media wizard, let out a gasp and handed me her phone. "Sister Chan, your expired sweetness just made it to the trending topics." Tonight's trending list was all about the film festival, and I occupied several spots. But the top trend was actually a Duban post digging into my first love. It had become a legendary post on Duban, titled Best Actress Ni-chan, and the summer she blessed with Chi. This was where the origin of the song title Prayer had been unearthed. I read the entire long post, lips pressed together. There were things there that even I had forgotten. Years ago, while filming on Yubai Mountain, ID apparently climbed to the snowy peak just to hang a red prayer charm for Yen Chi. The local TV station randomly interviewed tourists, asking them to dedicate a message to the one they prayed for. Wearing a mask, I smiled and said, "Ah Chi, it's so cold." Yen Chi would never watch a small, local TV channel like that. He would never know that the snow that day fell so heavily on Yubai Mountain. The post was impressively accurate, even including an old interview of mine. In it, my face still looked young and innocent as I smiled and said, "If one day I win an award, he'll definitely be the first person I thank." The reporter had pressed, "Who is he?" In the video, I just laughed, eyes curving, but gave no answer. But tonight, my acceptance speech had begun by thanking the female director of my last film for recognizing my talent. Not the person I'd once promised. That relationship had ended without grace, with no conclusion left to write. Yet viewers could still tell it had been a love long gone. And still, they laughed and cried, moved by this expired sweetness. People online guessed every male actor I'd worked with, but Northwest one got close to the truth, and Yen Chi's name didn't come up at all. Only then did I feel relieved. Fans can easily go too far in romanticizing relationships, especially now that Yen Chi had a new girlfriend. In a couple of days, the internet would forget about this entirely. After the award, prestigious directors' scripts kept pouring in. My manager and I were still sifting through the options. There was still some time before filming for our chosen script would begin, so Sister Sean arranged for me to guest judge an episode of True Actor, a high-profile acting competition show. I'd only be there for one episode, but I didn't expect to run into so many familiar faces. One of the other judges was the Triple Crown actor I'd just worked with Lu Jie. And when I arrived at the set, I ran straight into Jiang Miao. I hadn't realized Jiang Miao would be participating in this show as a contestant. The producers sure knew how to stir up buzz. Two actresses who just competed for Best Actress now face off again in an acting competition show. The difference is, this time, I'm a judge and Jiang Miao is a contestant. Ratings are bound to be high. For once, Yanqi wasn't here to accompany Jiang Miao to the recording. I'd heard he was always concerned about her, checking every set she joins to make sure her safety and living conditions are top-notch. People in the industry call him a model boyfriend. It's hard to imagine that nickname sticking to someone as proud and rebellious as Yanqi. The show hadn't officially started yet. Since I'd been in the industry much longer than Jiang Miao, I was technically her senior. We knew each other, so I gave her a brief, polite smile. Just as we were about to pass each other, she stopped me. Sister Chan, I haven't had the chance to congratulate you on winning Best Actress. I paused and turned back. Standing there with a slight smirk, she continued, my boyfriend thought I'd win and even made me memorize this long acceptance speech to thank him. So childish, right? I looked at her quietly, waiting for what would come next. Jiang Miao's smile faltered, and she added, maybe you didn't know, but my boyfriend is Yanqi. He said the song you wrote, Prayer, sounds awful and that he hopes you won't ever discussed him with it again. I didn't get mad. I just thought about it, then calmly replied, you two are well matched. His taste and your acting skills are equally terrible. Jiang Miao, who was used to getting everything easily, had probably never heard such blunt criticism before. Her face went pale with anger. Without the backing of a top director, script, and first-rate production, she wouldn't have been nominated alongside me. I ignored her and walked away. Rounding a corner, I realized someone was standing there. Lu Jie was leaning against the wall, a cigarette dangling from his lips unlit. The clear sunlight fell over his face, making him look even more cold and distant. I hadn't expected him to be on this show. He didn't usually accept interviews or commercials and kept a very low profile. I pressed my lips together, unsure how much he'd overheard, and called his name, Lu Jie. He turned and gave a slight nod. He was probably just passing by and unintentionally overheard the tense exchange, so he stayed back to avoid getting involved. He tossed the unlit cigarette into a trash bin, then spoke in a deep, raspy voice, the show's looking for us. Let us go. Lu Jie wasn't the chatty type. Even though we'd worked together on a movie for 6 months, sharing many scenes, we weren't especially close. We walked side by side in the quiet hallway. After a moment, he suddenly dropped a comment, catching me off guard. Your ex-boyfriend's taste really is terrible, Lu Jie said. Like most shows, this one had a scripted format, even though it claimed to be all about the pursuit of acting excellence. One rule was ironclad, they had to make sure Jiang Miao advanced to the final round. I wasn't surprised Sister Sean had already hinted to me that Yen's family business was one of the investors for the show. The production team had told us judges to go easy when evaluating Jiang Miao's performance. Unfortunately, luck wasn't on her side. For her first round, she was paired with a skilled young actor known for her talent. Without a director guiding her through, Jiang Miao's abilities fell short. But that was okay, the judges were there to support her. Most viewers tune in for the drama. As long as the judges praise her, they believe she is talented, even if she falls a bit short. The other judges all offered her compliments. Jiang Miao stood on stage, smiling sweetly, saying, thank you, teachers. I'll work even harder. Beside her, the young actress kept silent, her hands clenched in fists. Some people's paths are simply smoother than others. Even though Jiang Miao's South Easy Road is unfair to others, she benefits all the same. Then it was Lu Jie's turn. He didn't even look up. The director prodded him to give feedback. Clearly annoyed, Lu Jie muttered, hurts my eyes. I don't want to comment. Blunt and to the point. Lu Jie's status in the industry is high, and every comment he makes carries weight. His blunt remark struck hard, leaving Jiang Miao stunned, and tears immediately welled up and spilled over. Her crying had one predictable result. By the afternoon, Yanqi himself arrived at the recording set. As soon as my assistant and makeup artist heard the heir to Yen Group was here, they dashed out to catch a glimpse. Yanqi rarely made public appearances, but it was said he outshone male celebrities in looks alone. Of course they were curious. I stayed in the dressing room, reading over the script for my next role and scribbling notes in the margins. It was unusually quiet around me. I paused, looked up, and realized the door to the dressing room was already open. Yanqi was leaning against the doorframe, watching me with his head lowered. I didn't know how long he had been standing there. The afternoon sunlight streamed softly through the partially open doorway. This wasn't the first time I'd seen him since we broke up. But every time before, he'd been cold and combative. This time, he was calm and silent. The last time we'd interacted this peacefully was so long ago. I froze for a moment, then pointed toward the end of the hall and reminded him Jiang Miao's room is around the corner. He acted as though he hadn't heard, calling my name instead. Ni-chan. I saw the post online, he said, lifting his gaze. Is it true that you? He paused, struggling for a moment, letting a trace of real emotion slip through. He was far less composed than he seemed. Though he didn't finish, I understood his question. He wanted to know if I had truly, silently, and wholeheartedly loved him the way the post described. I noticed his hand gripping the doorframe, knuckles pale. With his hair slightly tousled, he looked like a drowning man waiting for a lifeline. I heard myself say, no. I closed my script, smiled, and denied it. I read that post too. It's all just rumors, none of it's true. Fans like to imagine things, reading too much into tiny clues. Don't let it bother you or Jiang Miao. I'm sorry if it caused you any trouble. He straightened up abruptly, his mouth pressed into a thin line. I thought he would leave. Then I remembered something from earlier and decided to remind him seriously. Acting is a lifelong career. If you want Jiang Miao to go far, don't spoil her too much. She needs time to grow on her own. One of my comments must have struck a nerve. Yanqi slammed the door and kicked the nearest makeup table. It crashed to the floor, sending mirrors and makeup shattering everywhere. He turned back to me, his eyes red with anger. Ni-chan, I left you to make your own way once too. And look what happened, you almost died. His voice trembled as he added, do you even have a heart? In the 3 years we were together, Yanqi had only gotten angry at me twice. The first time was when I played a supporting role in a historical drama. During a horseback scene, I fell off and was dragged several meters. Luckily, I wasn't seriously injured and only spent 2 weeks in the hospital. But Yanqi was furious. For as long as I was in the hospital, production was shut down. I told him he was overreacting. He smirked coldly as he peeled an apple at my bedside. They thought they could take advantage of you since you don't have any backing. You got hurt and they tried to cover it up. Once you're well, I'll make the director and producer apologize to you, one by one. He asked, why didn't you use a stunt double? Why didn't you tell them you're my girlfriend? Am I, Yanqi, that unworthy? I shook my head at each question, and eventually, Yanqi sighed and compromised. Then don't take on scenes like that again, Ni-chan. I worry. Back then, hardly anyone knew we were dating. I was an orphan who'd grown up in a welfare home. I hadn't even gone to college, just spent years scraping by as an extra and stunt double in Hengdian. Yanqi and I came from different worlds. I kept pushing myself to improve, hoping that one day, I'd win a Best Actress award. And then, in my acceptance speech, I'd proudly tell the world he was my man. Eventually, I got that chance. The role of the female lead in director Lee's new film fit me perfectly, and the production team was top tier. After securing the role, I gained 20 pounds, then had to lose weight due to a change in filming order, and cleared my schedule for a year to dedicate myself to the project. We'd been filming for a month when there was an accident during a high-wire scene. Due to a mistake by the props team, the harness had aged and I fell from a high altitude. There was a steel rod below, and if I hadn't shifted slightly, I might have died right there. Still, the rod pierced my shoulder and I passed out on the spot. This injury was far worse than the last one. At the time, Yanqi was handling business in Australia and was expected to be away for months. I didn't tell him about this. As long as I completed this movie, I was certain I'd win an award and finally be able to stand confidently beside him. Just one movie, that was all I needed, and the path ahead would be so much smoother. But Yanqi found out. Right as I was about to be discharged, my wound, deep enough to expose bone, had just begun to heal. He showed up, looking worn out and ice-cold, silently reviewing my medical records with lips pressed into a thin line. When he saw the photos of my initial injury, his breath caught and he crushed the photo in his hand. A chill radiated from him as he stared at me. If I hadn't come back early, were you planning to keep this from me forever? His eyes burned with anger and disappointment. He said, Ni-chan, you say you love me. But tell me, why have I never felt it? Yanqi stormed out, and I chased after him down the crowded hallway. I tripped, fell, and he didn't look back. That's when Yan Qi ended things with me. Director Li's movie was put on hold due to my injury, and 2 years later, when filming resumed, the female lead was played by Yan Qi's new girlfriend, Jiang Miao. That day, I had wanted to ask him a question too. Yan Qi, you say you love me, but you only love me. You don't care about the words I wrote on that red prayer plaque at the summit of Yubai Mountain. You never asked why I wanted to win an award so badly. You can't understand why I want to rely on your connections. Your life is so full. I'm just a sinking ship in the vast sea of your world. The noise in the dressing room must have caught people's attention because the first person to arrive was Lu Jie. He frowned at the mess on the floor, stepping between Yan Qi and me with a protective stance. Turning his head to Yan Qi, his sharp jaw clenched, he lowered his gaze coolly. What's wrong with you? A crowd began to gather at the door, and I could hear someone calling Jiang Miao's name from a distance. Yan Qi's question went unanswered. He straightened, his gaze flicking between Lu Jie and me before he let out a bitter laugh, shoved his way through the crowd, and left. People hovered around the dressing room doorway, staring at the chaos inside. Lu Jie stood up and closed the door, blocking out all the curious eyes and noise. The room fell silent. He found some cotton swabs and antiseptic wipes, and as he knelt to clean the cut on my hand, I noticed a thin line of blood where a flying shard had grazed me. I tried to pull my hand away, but he caught my fingertips. Looking up at me, a small mole at the bridge of his nose visible, he said, I'm out of character now, Ni-chan. In the movie we had filmed together, Lu Jie had played the male lead, who was obsessively in love with the female lead. The kind of love that bordered on madness. And I had played the female lead. Many actors blur the lines between themselves and their characters over the course of a long shoot, becoming overly absorbed in the role. That's why, on the day we wrapped filming, Lu Jie had come to see me off by the sea and confessed his feelings. I figured he was just too immersed in his role, projecting the male lead's feelings for the female lead onto me. Lu Jie was reclusive and solitary, and I wasn't exactly a social butterfly either. After filming together for so long, we hadn't exactly become close. If we had any bond, it was a shared love for acting. So I turned him down, saying, Lu Jie, you're just still in character. But now, in this chaotic dressing room, he was kneeling in front of me, looking up with clear, cool eyes where the sunlight reflected softly. Lu Jie spoke calmly, I'm out of character now. But even with a clear mind, I still like you. The filming of True Actor continued, and ever since Yan Qi came to support Jiang Miao, her confidence had reached a whole new level. She'd take jabs at her fellow contestants, demanding retakes whenever her performance fell short, and the production team went out of their way to meet her demands. More than once, I overheard young actors on the show complaining about her diva attitude, calling her a resource hog. But I didn't expect Jiang Miao to turn her focus on me after her second performance on stage. She stood on stage, smiling at me, one of the judges. Actually, director Li's Light was originally supposed to star Ms. Ni-chan. Isn't it boring for us contestants to always be doing these classic scenes? Ms. Ni-chan, why don't you improvise my iconic scene and give us some guidance? She stared right at me, her youthful ambition and competitive edge evident. At that moment, I realized why Jiang Miao had joined this show. Despite her limited experience, Light had catapulted her to a Best Actress nomination right at the start of her career, but she lost to me at the film festival. She clearly couldn't accept it. Comments were already circulating online, speculating that if I starred in Light as planned, it wouldn't just be national awards, it could be gone international. Jiang Miao wasn't satisfied and wanted to use this show to see me redo Light and show her up. I looked at her for a long moment, then, unexpectedly, felt a sense of relief. Leaning back comfortably, I replied, sure. Losing the role in director Li's Light had always been a regret of mine. Now, I could finally put it to rest. Lu Jie helped me rehearse. We spent an hour preparing off stage, running through lines. By the time we stepped under the lights, the set was fully arranged. The lead in Light is a blind woman, and I spent half a year delving into her psyche. I watched the film right when it premiered, wondering with every scene how I would have played it. As the performance began, I closed my eyes, then opened them again as that blind woman, my gaze vacant and unfocused. Lu Jie, with his natural talent, was entirely overshadowed by my performance. No one knew how much of myself I had poured into this role. Years of pent-up regret came pouring out in an intense and cathartic improvised performance. When it ended, the set was dead silent. Jiang Miao looked devastated, barely holding herself steady. Compared to the film version, the live performance reached a whole new level. The difference between Jiang Miao's and my performances was unmistakable. It took me a while to come back to myself. Then I noticed someone sitting in the guest seats, in the shadows at the very back. It was Yan Qi. The bright lights caught his teary eyes, and as memories flooded over him, it was like a knife cutting repeatedly into his most vulnerable nerves. The tension in his temples made veins stand out. Only now did he understand what light had meant to me. But it had been Yan Qi himself who had snuffed out my chance to play that role. After the first episode finished filming, my involvement with the show was practically over. But just as I was getting home and settling into rest, things took an unexpected turn. Behind-the-scenes footage from True Actors started circulating online, sparking major interest in the show even before it aired. One of the clips showed Jiang Miao crying on stage after being criticized for her performance. In stark contrast, I sat in the judge's seat, cold and nearly cutting in my demeanor. Some users shared images and alleged that the heir of the Yan family had come to the set to visit his girlfriend, only to be seduced by a certain best actress who disrupted their relationship, causing him to lose his temper and smash up the dressing room. Although they didn't name names, I was the only best actress on the show. And as if to confirm the rumors, Jiang Miao herself posted on social media, "Workplace bullying, stealing relationships, is there a limit to some people's shame?" She deleted it within a minute, but it was enough to stir up an online frenzy. Every accusation pointed sharply at me like the edge of a knife. At this point, the production team should have cleared things up for me, but instead, they stayed silent, enjoying the surge in attention brought by the controversy. Sister Sean had to call the director multiple times before he finally picked up. He mumbled, "The main episode is still being edited. Once it airs, people will see the truth for themselves. If we clarify things now, we'll spoil the show's storyline. Just hang in there, Ms. Ni. Public figures always have to deal with a bit more drama." He was dodging responsibility, refusing to make a clear statement. After hanging up, Sister Sean looked grim. "The real issue isn't this," she said. "The problem is that they're probably editing to make it look like you really did bully Jiang Miao, exactly how people are saying online. This show was a mistake. If we'd known she'd be involved, I wouldn't have let you take it, no matter how much they were offering." Ever since her debut, Jiang Miao's name had been tied to her title as the prince's girlfriend and resource queen. She had plenty of haters, but a strong core of devoted fans too. I told her, "Let us track down who recorded the behind-the-scenes footage and how it leaked. Send legal warnings to any big accounts spreading rumors. As for the paid posters driving the narrative, find out which agency they're working for and trace it back to the source. Let us start with what we can do." Everyone got to work and I walked over to the window. It was evening, right at the blue hour in photography. The sky had turned a pure, deep blue, and below, traffic flowed endlessly between the high-rise buildings. Just then, my phone rang. A low, husky voice on the other end said, "Look out at the distance." I lifted my head and saw fireworks blooming across the night sky. In that fleeting moment they felt eternal. Against the clear, dark blue, the fireworks fell like stars. The whole city stopped to look up at the sky. On the other end of the call, I heard Yan Qi's voice catch in his throat. "I came to fulfill my promise," he said. "Congratulations, Ni-chan. Ni-chan, I'm sorry. If our encounter in our youth was fate, then was it a gift or a punishment from above? 1 year, I had told Yan Qi, I'm going to win Best Actress someday, and you'd better be ready to stand behind me." He had pinched my cheek, laughing indulgently. "Then I'll give you fireworks over the whole city." Fireworks over a whole city. It really was beautiful. I saw them tonight, but where was the person who promised them? I went up to the rooftop of the office building, and there he was, waiting for me. The wind was strong, making it hard to keep my eyes open. An empty beer can rolled to my feet, clinking softly. I picked it up and placed it beside Yan Qi, where there were already several more empties. Who knew how many he had? He didn't turn around, his lips pressed tightly. The wind muffled the tremor in his voice. "About the thing with Jiang Miao on the show, I'm sorry. I made her delete the post. Don't worry, I'll handle it from here." To him, this was never anything big to begin with. The wind tousled his hair, and I found myself at a loss for words. After a long silence, I said, "My team and I will handle this ourselves. This whole thing didn't really involve you, and getting you tangled up in it now wouldn't be ideal. Besides, Jiang Miao is still your girlfriend." He took a sip of his drink, eyes down, and said quietly, "She's not. I have a contract with Jiang Miao. For a year or maybe 2, she'll get any resource she wants from me, and I'll go along with pretending to be her boyfriend if it helps her public image. I had only one condition, that she get a Best Actress award purely as a newcomer." He gave a faint, self-deprecating smile. "I spent 2 years on this just to prove one thing, that if you hadn't fought so hard, if you'd relied on me a little, you could have reached the heights you wanted. I was waiting for you to regret it to come back. I wanted to smile, but in the end, my lips wouldn't move. Yanqi said, after we broke up, I often had trouble sleeping. Sometimes, I'd hear my phone ring in a daze, waking up only to realize I'd been waiting for a call from you. It didn't matter what you'd say, just hearing you call my name once would been enough. If you had just said Yanqi, I would come back to you right away. In the end, I'm the one who has been regretting, the one who has been hurting all along. Ni-chan, you were right. I was so arrogant, I never understood what you truly wanted. Only now did he lift his eyes to look at me. When he kept his gaze lowered, he could almost pretend to be calm, but in that moment, his emotions broke free. Tears streamed down his face, his expression weary. Yanqi whispered, I'm sorry. Under the vast sky, snow began to fall softly. The season's first snow had come so soon. His voice was so strained it sounded almost broken, carrying a hint of pleading. After the film festival, I listened to prayer all night and read every post online. Ni-chan, did you ever love me that deeply? I brushed the snow from my face, melting like tears. Yes, I said. And now? He asked. Softly, I replied, Yanqi, it's all in the past. I'd already given my answer. I saw him sway, almost unable to stand, as he opened his hand to reveal a ring. Ni-chan, this was your ring. I never told you, but when I came back from Australia that time, I was planning to propose to you. He hadn't expected to find me in a hospital. He hadn't expected to hear from someone else that I had almost died. The pride we once clung to in our youth now left us both feeling sorry. I closed his trembling fingers around the ring. I said, Yanqi, I've never regretted meeting you. I didn't take the ring. As I left, the rooftop was still covered in snow. Yanqi stood alone, the wind catching the hem of his coat. He didn't move for a long time. Back at home, I found the situation had taken a major turn. The rumors were still spreading, but they were mostly being pushed by Jiang Miao's fans. The general public hadn't jumped on board yet. Then, Lu Jie, who rarely posts online, put out a Weibo post with just 4 simple words, blowing things out of proportion. He even shared an unedited clip, showing him sitting in the judge's seat, irritated as he muttered, hurts my eyes, I don't want to comment, right before Jiang Miao burst into tears. Lu Jie's influence was massive, and fans joked that his post was self-destructive honesty. Surprisingly, public opinion didn't automatically swing in Jiang Miao's favor. Sister Shan hadn't even had time to hire a PR team to counter the narrative. Comments flooded in. Jiang Miao, stop acting like everyone wants your boyfriend. Go read that Dubon post, Best Actress Ni-chan, and the summer she blessed with Chi. Then you'll understand what real beauty is. I still haven't recovered, and you think Ni-chan has. So what if the clip's real? Just take the feedback from a best actress and learn something. Criticism's priceless, got it? Stop whining. What's with posting and deleting? Delete next time, slap yourself while you're at it. After exhausting their anger on Jiang Miao, netizens turned to blame the show's production team for not addressing the issue. The director's private Weibo was flooded with comments, forcing him to crawl out of bed late at night to do a live stream apology. In a panic, he worked with the video platform to rush the episode's release the very next day. The broadcast showed the original, unedited footage, refraining from any negative edits against me. They even left in scenes of Jiang Miao acting like a diva. The show reached its peak with a scene of Lu Jie and me performing together. Director Li, who had cast Light, called me afterward and, after a long silence, admitted, Ni-chan, not casting you was the film's greatest loss. When reporters pressed Yanqi about Jiang Miao's accusations of me stealing her boyfriend, he gave a cold laugh. There was never a relationship. How could it be an affair? Jiang Miao's acting crazy. Our contract expired long ago. Clearly fed up, he released the contract with Jiang Miao, becoming one of the year's biggest gossip items. For weeks, people online couldn't stop speculating about why Yanqi was so eager to groom a new best actress. During this time, many people Jiang Miao had offended over the past 2 years, or whose resources she'd taken, began to reveal stories of her unprofessional behavior and diva attitude. Then there was the issue of her paying PR firms to smear me. In just a few days, nearly all her endorsement deals were cancelled, and the hefty breach of contract fees forced her to take a break from the industry. Sister Shan was pleased with the outcome. She had initially prepared a budget for a full-blown PR crisis response, but was thrilled to see that my solid reputation with the public took care of it for us, saving a good chunk of funds. Maybe it's because those who climbed slowly, step by step, learn how to weather the storms with a bit more resilience. I joined a new production. By coincidence, Lu Jie was cast as my co-star again. Over time, I started to notice how he treated me differently. He was quiet around everyone, but with others, he was distant and reserved, while with me, he was calm and composed. Like the sea under moonlight, serene on the surface, yet powerful beneath. After another day's shoot wrapped, I wandered around the filming location in the ancient town, pausing here and there under a frosty-looking moon. Then I got a call from Yan Qi. Through the phone, I could hear the sound of howling wind and faintly, snow falling. He said, "Ni-chan, Yubai Mountain is so cold." I thought back to that year, when I quietly hung a red prayer plaque at the snowy summit of Yubai Mountain, inscribed with a wish, "May Chi live 100 years in peace and good health." Back then, Yan Qi didn't understand, he never even knew. Now he is tracing back all those long-gone memories, trying to relive the love I once had for him over those 3 years from age 22 onward. But it's a shame. That love is gone. It won't return. I didn't say another word, just hung up and headed back to the set, walking slowly with my head down. Someone called my name and I looked up. At the end of the path, I saw Lu Jie bathed in moonlight. He said, "Let us walk back together." I replied, "Okay." All those painful memories were finally buried under this year's first snow. Perhaps it's time to welcome a new, flourishing summer.